Hey, Fitzy here, back at a game, another one. I'm back at my side-by-side. We're planning another trip year. And last year's trip, we found out one major thing. I never had enough room in this machine to store anything. We're going again this year for a week or so. And we're planning on camping out this time. So I needed room on the machine to store stuff. So I come up with this design here. I found a rack and a box at Princess Auto. And I modified the rack to fit the side-by-side, so I got lots of room here now. So I'm going to walk you through the steps of how I made this entire system. Stick around. Well, let's get started. It's that time of year again now. I'm planning a trip. Me and Wendy are going to take in the machine now. We're going to do the other side of Newfoundland on the rail bed. And last year we had a little bit of an issue. Problem we got with these machines is you don't have a lot of storage, okay? I got no room on this one here to put in. I got this little box, and I had this full of gear last night in bags and the whole 9 yards. And I said to myself, it'd be nice if I can build something now that I can actually store some stuff in, right? So what I'm planning on doing here now, I'm going to build a rack to go on the back of this that can hold a box. This is what I got up here, okay? I went to Princess Auto and picked up two of these items here. These were on sale at the store. This is a rack for the back of a pickup truck, and this is just a steel box. Now, I measured up the distance of this steel box, and the nicest thing about it, it fits right in between these two roll cages, between the roll bar here. Fits right in here, is the perfect width for there, so it'll come right outside here. My plan is to take this here and mount it up high. I'm taking this out of it, but I'm going to have this for storage still. I'm going to mount the rack about right here to come out, probably out to here somewhere, and go to full end of it. I want to be able to put that box right here tight to the cab, and it's just going to be underneath this here cabinet, so it's going to come to here. And then I'm going to have a spot behind it to mount a cooler and probably another box or something like that for storage, and then I can put stuff underneath it, tools, whatnot, underneath the rack itself. We've had problems with, like, you know, storage. I was going to build a roof rack, but some of the trails we've after going down, the trails, I'm afraid that's going to get beat off it, whatever's on top of the machine. So I'm trying to keep everything below the roof line and inside the roll cage. I don't mind it hanging off a small bit, but it's I just want it so it fits on the back of the machine. So that's the game plan. What I'm going to do here now, I'm going to haul this box out. I got to size everything up to see how everything mounts here. I'm going to open this up here and have a look, see what I got, and see what I can dream up to. I got all intentions of cutting this up. This is not going to be the exact size, and as you can see, of the width of it there. And whatever way it fits the best, if I got to narrow it to make this fit, or if I got to, you know, widen it or whatnot, I dare say most chances I'm probably going to have to narrow it this way. But anyway, we'll size all it up when it takes it out of the box. So there's what the rack looks like, okay? It's basic, pretty simple. The way it's all rigged up with the piping and everything on it. Some might say, why don't you just buy a proper rack for it? I can't get one that'll fit on the back of that the size that I wanted. And I priced up the cost of materials for the price of steel these days. What I paid for this rack in that box, you know, I paid, I think it's $120, $130 for both of this. I can't buy the steel and to make all this, so it's better to start off with something that's already pre-made, and I can cut it up and I can basically fit it to how I like it. I haven't got to do no welding here in the middle. I just got to make it fit the size, cut it, shorten it, whatever I got to do with it to make it work. I got that done. I played around in. I went in the house, got a cooler. This is sort of the combination I'm looking to do. I have a spot where I can have the can in the back, cooler up front, and have room over here, and I can have storage underneath it. I haven't got room for that and the old box, because there's the old box that was in the back of it. And so now, biggest thing is, my plan back here is that I'm going to remove the license plate. It's going to be mounted to this section here, bolted on through here. So that'll be mounted there. And then I got to come back here and find some way to suspend it to mount it back on the back side here somehow. Got to be strong enough that I can take a good pounding, okay? That was the biggest problem. Biggest concern I got is that this can handle a rough ride. And so the bracing and everything's going to be, I might strip apart the back end of this to see how it's all put together. I have some steel points right here and over there for mounts, so I might just come straight up from here. That pipe is pretty heavy. So it'll, like, you know, if I had a vertical support coming straight down here that was welded solid here that bolted onto the back of it, it should be strong, because that's pretty heavy duty there. And my plan is I'm going to mount that box over there. That's going to be bolted to this. There'll be tabs on this here, plating system much similar to this here, underneath the bottom of the box, so that you can actually bolt that directly to this, so I haven't got to worry about strapping it down and whatnot. This stuff will be strapped down because you'll be taking it on and off. And then, you know, I got this little bar here on the side of it, so I might incorporate that into it somehow and have it so I got sides, something to strap to and whatnot. Also came with a pile of hardware. Come with these brackets here, big heavy duty brackets. Might be able to incorporate them into it. I got 4 of them, and they come with these big heavy duty mounting tabs with the slabs and everything on them, bolts and everything on them, and a big bunch of hardware that came with it all. So I should be able to reuse some of this stuff as well. That's basically what you're looking at here. This is the way it was. This is the bed of the truck, and it was mounted above it, so that way you can have cargo area. You can store stuff on top of your box and still slide stuff in underneath it. And it's basically the same concept I want to use this for on the side-by-side. It's just that I got to make it smaller. I was there and I took the measurements. I'm measuring off the top of this here, and I said to myself, I'm just going to take that and lay it up on top of that and see what it fits like. Now, this item and this item are not part of the same type of company or anything to go together or nothing like that. But just look at this. You couldn't get a better fit. I was measuring it off the top here, and it was a little bit wider on the inside. And I said, I'm just going to lay it up there, see what it's like. So that is perfect. So now I have the width figured out. I haven't got to do nothing with the width. All I got to do now is set it up so I can mount it on the back of the cab. And I just got to find the length that it got to be and cut it off so I can basically have it the right length. And then just got to find a way to mount it. That's deadly. Perfect fit, that box. Like it. Now I've sat down and I sized up a lot of things and how I'm going to mount it and where I'm going to cut it to, and I'm figuring that the actual rack is going to be from about right to this pipe here. All this here will be the rack. This will be the back, that'll be one side, that'll be the other side, this will be the front. What I got in my head, I got to find some way that I got to mount it to the thing. I'm going to take this section here and stand it up on its end and mount it here. So it almost basically comes like this type of thing, so it's got a back rack along with the bottom. This here section here will mount right here and bolt onto this here. Now I have 2 more locations here that I can actually mount it, which I want to do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up these here, cut that off there, and that fits right in between these. If you look, that fits right in there as well. And I can put that wherever I want to, weld it on, that'll bolt on. And that is my plan there. So I'm trying to think too far ahead, but I think I got to get the frame of it made first before I actually get too far into it. I'm trying not to like cut it in the middle and weld around the pipe. I want this to end, and I want the end to end. So I'm thinking about keeping all this here with it. So this will come across here, and then it'll come up and it'll turn sort of like this. So I'm going to go ahead now and start cutting this up and see what I come up with. There's no going back now. Don't go back now. So there is the first part of the idea. What I'm going to do now, as you can see, these tabs are here. I'm going to mount them into here. Now I'm going to have to drill this one here because apparently these holes here line right up with the center of this here. So I'll have to re-drill 2 holes here. But all I'll do here in the middle, see these these sections here, I'll cut sections out and I'll basically put them in there, line them up with the bracket in behind and weld them on the same way these are welded on here. And that way I can bolt that straight into there, so then I'll have 4 locations that I can bolt the front of the rack on to give it lots of strength. And I want to leave this look here going on and the top section around this. Now the plan is I want to have it this high, see? So the plan is now is I'm going to come out here. So the rack is going to come in here somewhere, or possibly even going through here. I'm not quite sure yet. The upper bar. So this will have like a little bend down here. I'm trying to stay away from having to clean and cut pipes and everything off. I don't mind joining, but the least amount I got to cut is the better I like it. Because I know this is going to be down low here. I'll cap the end of this here so nothing, it doesn't fill up with anything. But I didn't want the rack too low because I still want to get access to be able to put stuff in here. And the distance from here to here basically is the top of that box, and that's what I'm after. I don't want to put the box above the roof, but I want to have it as high as I can possibly get it so that I can basically still put stuff in underneath this here. So now next thing I'm going to do now is to size up here what I'm going to do and come into here. If I'm just going to cut this right off here and have this falling into it and have one end here. And I might play around with this a bit just to size up an idea, because here's the issue I got. I'm trying to see how I'm going to end this section here. If I'm going to put this one underneath the other one, have the other pipe coming down through here, or I'm going to have the other one coming to here and stopping, and having this one going straight on in. I think I might just have it coming down to that. I'm not quite sure yet. Not 100% sure. So I'm going to play around with the idea, size it all up and everything there now, where I'm going to bring this into, because I know I got to make this longer to come into the butt into this section here. The butt into this. So like I'm trying to have it, I just say the bar will probably be the same height as this, so there'll be 2 bars here, and then she'll go back from that. That would be the idea I got in my head. I'm going to go think about this now and size this up and start figuring out where we're going to make my cuts. Okay, playing around with making a fish mouth cut on the pipe, because you know when you're going to basically run a piece of pipe like this into another round pipe, you've got to cut like a fish mouth in it. It's got to be cut out, right? So I was playing around there and I said to myself, now I'll go in the house, I'll get some cardboard. And I got some cardboard and I rolled it up, and I went and rolled it up so it come out to a tube like this. Now this tube fits over the end of this here, like so, right? That'll fit over the end of that. I'll get down there, see that fits on over that there like that. So what I went and did then is I turned around and I guesstimated at the fish mouth. And all I did is I took the piece of cardboard and I squished it together like that. But what I did is I laid this against this here first of all. Okay. Now you can see that distance there, that shadow that you see? Well, that is about 1/4 of an inch. Okay. Now if I came up on the opposite side, opposite corner over here, up 1/4 of an inch and cut it back to the middle here on a curve, you'll end up with a fish mouth setup. So all I did is I come over here, and you can see I got it made, but all I did is I pressed that together like that, laid it down, and I come from the middle up here 1/4 of an inch, and I cut it back, and I cut it back, just tapered it back, like not a straight edge, but like I rolled it back. If you look at it, it's not a perfectly straight line, rolled it back, and then I just turned around and then basically put it back together again, and you got a nice little fish mouth there. Okay, just some quick, you haven't got to be perfect in what I'm doing here now. So when I turn around now and fit this on over here, okay, now I got a spot that I can turn around and I can mark this, and I can cut the pipe so that it fits into this pipe here against this way here. Now the thing with it is some of these pipes I'm not going to be able to put them on. Like you see here now, I marked this here, okay, just to show you something. That's a fish mouth cut there. That's where I can make the mark to. Now, thing with it is, I done this in such a way that so when I could turn this around here, this is trouble getting on because I'm under the end of the cardboard. There we go. Now, when I turn this on here, you're going to say, but Tony, but that's the wrong way. But some of them I got to put it on this way. Now, when I turn it this way, that lines up. See, it's pretty close to what it was on this here. Yeah, move it over a bit. That's pretty close there. So I can mark that this way here to get the fish mouth to go into the other pipe, and I can just trim it back. You can see that it's a little small bit off there, which is fine because I'll have to remove that material for final fitment. But I can get it in the ballpark. These depths here are the key. You don't want a big gap on the side here. So now I got a little tool now for making my little fish mouth thing. I got to figure out where I'm going to cut this off here. And I got to bring it back. And as you can see, I can't do it here. I can't slide this back, so I got to go in this way with this one. in order to do that one. But this one here, I can come back all the way back the way I want. So maybe what I'll end up doing is I'll do both of them this way here, so I got the same cut on both of them, right? So I'm going to go ahead now and trim these two up here, because this is where it's going to end to, right here. And I'm going to have them run into that main loop bar coming down here. And I'm going to cut this off so that it's in underneath it. That's just a little reinforcement. It's going to be there. It's going to be very small, it is. All I did is I put a tape up here and wrapped around it, tape down here and wrapped around it, so two of these are parallel to each other. I got the center of this mark so it's in center line with the top of the bar. I slid the cardboard on over it and marked the tape. So that'll be my cut line, and I just slid it on over this one here, and I'll mark this one here, and that'll be my cut line. And that'll be that side will be done. The inside of the tape here is on the inside of the bar right here, as you can see. So that'll be my reference point on the other side. So, and all I did is I wrapped the tape around it this way here to get a straight line, and I just cut it and folded it in around with that, just so that both of these here will be the same length. I'm only going to be cutting this with a grinder and dressing up, no fancy tools, not a hole saw or nothing like that. I'm just going to take it now, and I'm going to cut this right off here, and then I'll cut it in here bit by bit as I'm going. I'll show you. As you see, all it is, I cut it off straight, then I cut in along here, and you still got the line there, and I cut it off there, and then I put a little zip there, and I broke it off. And that's all I do with the whole works of it, and I got enough there now that I'll actually grind that down and round that back so the pipe fits in there. Yeah, it's best kind. The bottom pipe, I'm going to line up with the bottom cross member here, so that's going to be roughly about right there. And then the other one, which is the distance here, that I got the two of these here, the distance apart, that got to pass through here. And I'm going to have that just pass it through and butting up against this here, so that there, this will just be a little tiny corner piece on it like that. I don't want to cut, you can cut it off, but I think it's a nice little feature to keep on it. So I got to basically do a fish mount on that. All I did is I knew the distance between the two of these here, and I knew the top, from the top to the top was like 2.5 inches. So I brought the mark up from the bottom where I wanted to put it to, and I measured up 2.5 inches and marked it, and I used my little fish mount cardboard thing, and I marked it off. So now I'm just going to cut that out there now, and then that should fall right into place. Let's hope. So there you have it, a quick mock-up there, just held together with a couple pieces of tape. Now you can see how it all fits together there. I got to fine-tune it all. These ones here fits really good. Just where that just comes down, it goes out straight to that. I'll just weld it here, here, and here. And it'll be all one piece. Same one over here. Same thing. This side here needs a bit more love to get fitting proper. And it needs to be tipped up. But that's I'm pleased with it. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead now and get this all cleaned up and fitted together and give it a tack together. I'm not going to weld anything up solid yet. You never know how much is going to change. I got to make sure this is on a right angle and all that type of stuff. So I get that all tack welded together there now. I got it all clamped together there. That don't look half bad. The way it all fits together there. I still got to pull the top in a bit, and this here has to come out and in for it to go square and everything on me. But other than that, I'm happy with it. It's a good enough gap there for me. It's not like it's a structural piece or nothing. So as long as it looks half decent, I'm loving it. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to get a square and put on that there and get them welded up. It's a quick little test fit. So this is basically what it's going to look like. The center of the wheel now is not bad as in the center of the unit. All the way it's going to be up here with the boxes and everything's going to go here. And I'll just have this back here for coolers. But as you can see, I still got a lot of room down here to store stuff. It is longer than the machine. I don't mind that. I just want the extra room to basically be able to store stuff if I have to. Strap things down. It's not something I'm probably going to leave on the machine. I'm building this more or less to go traveling. So now I got that figured out. I just got it taped in place there. As you can see, there's the bracketries down here. What I got to do now is I got to mount them in here, here, and here. I'm going to bolt them on there first. And then back here, you can see I got these stands laid here. Down here, there's 2 mounting points on the body itself. I'm going to take these in and bring it up and tie it into this and have it so it bolts on. I haven't really decided that yet. I'm not worried too much on it, but that's where it's going to be mounted to. I'm not going to worry about out any end out here and support and stuff like that, because I'm hoping this is a pretty sturdy unit as it is, and it only basically took the strain from here. So everything out here was basically resting on this section of the frame on the original truck, so it should be fine. I'm going to basically run this here down to this here. Okay, I got everything figured out. I ended up making 4 of these brackets like this here. All I did is, I had these here, this section here was on it. On the ends, I got this piece here. This is the outside ones that were on the panel itself. The problem with it was, the bolt hole was falling basically right here somewhere, like right in the middle of this. And it wasn't lined up with none of this stuff. And I didn't want it too close to the edge, because it would have been right up close to the edge of this one here and whatnot. So I ended up taking these brackets here, which is basically, this end here was the same as this, but it had no holes in it. I cut the ends off it, and I ended up drilling a hole in it and put a welding nut on the end of it, much the same as what they had down here. Okay, same concept. So I weld them on it. Now the thing what I had to do in order to get it to fit the roll cage proper, I had to widen them out of it. This is just another piece of this here, and you can see, and I just widened it out of it. So that way, then this here used to bolt on to the roll cage on the machine, and this here is welded to the actual frame itself, right? I had to drill out the holes in the frame. So there's the brackets there, you can see it. And I had to drill out the hole in the actual, the bracket on the thing. That was only like a 1/4 bolt hole, so I drilled it up to a 1/2 inch, so I can put a nice big 1/2 inch nut on the end of it. And I got the other 3 here set up, as you can see. That one there got welded on, and that one there got welded on. I made sure everything was level and square, and it was the same distance across, so it bolted on there. I'm in the process now of welding this one on, and putting that other one I just showed you, putting that right there, and welding that on. So I'm going to go ahead now and get them tacked in place. So I got them all tack welded in place, and so now that's everything is straightened away with that. I just got to take them off and weld them up, and that part is done. Next thing I do now is I got to put the supports back here to go to this section here. Right now I got a jack stand underneath it, and I have 2 points down here that bolts to the frame, right here. I'm going to unbolt them there now and try to figure out some way that I can mount something to that I can use that actual bolt as a mounting point. And then I'm going to bring it up to this plating system here on an angle or whatnot and figure out something. I have plates there and I can bolt to that. And I'll have it so that piece there bolts on, and it'll be 2 legs, one coming down here and one coming down over there. So here's what I come up with. I got this set up here now. I haven't got it bolted in now, but I played around with it a bit. Basically, I went and reused the bracketry that was belonged to this section here, and I had to cut it off up here. Okay, I'll show you now how it takes it out. And then I just has it sort of the mounts down on the bottom there. I played around with just trying to find the best way to do it, but just sit it down here. There's 2 mounting bolts, one here and one here, that'll bolt onto the frame and the machine, and this plating system then takes the weight of it all. And then that pipe there is cut on an angle so it fits in there. Very tricky to get this to go up and down. I didn't want to put nothing too big there. But my plan is now is going to run a brace across here, and I'll probably put a diagonal up here, right? So all I did is I cut the bracket off top, and I left the diagonal that was in the factory, and I cut a slot in the pipe. So this slid up over it, and I welded it on there. This piece down at the bottom, I just cut it out to the shape of the floor and drilled 2 holes, and you can see where I welded it together there, and welded the pipe on it so that when it sits in the machine, it stands up like so, okay? Now I'm trying to keep all this small because of where it's to in the back. I want to still be able to put luggage and everything in the back of it. But all I used to make it was another piece of this. That's just a scrap piece to come off one of the brackets, this piece here. And then this bracket here, I just cut it off through here. And I used this section of the bracket. And then I found some pipe around here that I can use. And that's what I use to for my upright on the top side of it. So I'm going to go ahead now and get all this cut up and trimmed up and get the second one made. Here, cutting out the other bracket, and you can see I'm starting to cut the circle out of it here, and I start thinking, hey, it's a good tip to point out to people. Wondering how you cut around circles. This is a big disc, okay, to try to cut that circle out. Usually you just chop this off in sections like this here, and you'll be able to grind it all off and get it flush. But if you turn around and take an old small disc, the disc can fit in there tighter, and it will work its way around it to cut it. And just take your time, walk around it, walk around it. As you can see here now, this is what I got in the grinder here now. And I'm just going to walk it around it, walk it around it. Well, I just did a quick test fit on that, as you can see. It fits really good. That's the bottom piece there, okay? That'll be the top piece, and you can see the way I got it slotted here. And basically what that does, that just fits down side there, like so. And then that stands up and goes on the angle of the thing. So then I got an actual brace holding it in through the middle, and I'll weld it all around that there. So now all I got to do now is just fit two of them together and fit all that in the machine. And I got to trim the bottom of this here to fit it. I also made a couple of these up. These are going to be the diagonals on it. I got them set up here, so basically I can put a couple of diagonal braces on this here as well. So that'll be done. So I'm going to go ahead now and piece all this together and get it tacked up. So I got the two of them in place, and got the brace and everything put on, grinded it all up, welded it all up, got them done. So they're all bolted down. You can see how they're mounted down here, how they bolts into the floor here. That bolts on top of the frame on both sides, and I got it done there, the bolts on the two locations there. So that's nice and secure there. Now next thing I'll be concerned about now is I got to mount the box. I want the box to bolt on to this section up here, and so I have it so it's permanently mounted to this rack at times, so that I can actually unbolt it and take it off if I want to or whatnot, right? So this is what I come up with. I have one more bracket left, and I cut it off, and basically I'm going to run it across there so it's the same height as this here and weld it along here, so that way I got a point that I can bolt onto. I'll drill down through the bottom of the box and I'll put bolts down through here, and that's what that'll hold that in place, so I haven't got to worry about strapping the box down. The only problem with this, I only got one piece of this length. This is about the length it got to be, and the problem, I had these other ones here, these ones here, but as you can see, they were a lot shorter, and there was a big gap on the thing. So what I'm going to end up doing here now, I have a bunch of these other pieces here, like this here, that are like that are all too short. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld two together and basically make one long one and then cut it to that length there. Basically is what I'm going to do with it. So then I'll have two pieces there. That's all I can do. I'm making use of all little bits and pieces to it. And the very last one I opened up, I come to find these things. These old pads. I said, look at that, look. There's a bit of gear there. Use that for something sometime. There's all kinds of little goodies in it. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to weld a couple of these together and get it cut off so it's the same length as that one. I wanted to grind this side flat, so what I went and did, I actually V'd the 2 pieces of metal out, so that when I weld it, I'm getting penetration down through it. So when I grinds it all off, and not just grind all the weld back off it again, right? So that's all I did there is I V'd this one this way and this one this way, so that with 2 of them butts together, there's a gap there. And now when I welds it across, the weld can get right down inside the gap. So I got that all welded up, grinded up, got that done. I'm not going to do nothing with the inside of it. I'm going to leave it alone to give it strength. All I did then is I went and took the one that I already had made, I laid it on top of it like so, and I scribed the ends of it. So I'm just going to chop that section out now, and that'll be my other brace. So there I have the 2 of them in place, just laid in place there now. When I take the rack off, I still got to weld these up, I'll weld them in place. Do one more thing that I wanted to do with this here is when I put the box on the back of it and I put containers, as you can see there's a large hole here. So small items like a gas can that might want to fall through it. And I was trying to find some way to keep this here so it's not heavy, but it had a platform on top of it and something that I can use. Like if I put a piece of sheet of plywood over this, you'd be drilling holes and everything, it'd be filling up with dirt and all that type of stuff. I wanted something that I could probably, if I wanted to, make up some sort of eyelid setup that I can actually bolt through it, that I can move it around anywhere on the thing, and then I can tighten it up so that if I got a small item I want to strap to it, I can move the eyelids out or in and then tighten them up, and then I can put straps on it, right? And I had this stuff kicking around. I had a couple pieces of this for a number of years now, and I could never find a use for it. I think I just found a use for it. It's like it's corrugated, like it's cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this to fit the whole top of this deck. And I'm going to weld it along here, and then in here I'll put spot welds on it, that type of stuff to give it strength and everything. I'm going to take this off now and basically get all the stuff welded up, get all that done. I'll get that trimmed up and fitting. So then we can start getting ready to paint this thing. So I got sheet laid out here now, and the trick, as you can see the way these are cut off here. What I got to do is when I measure over to cut it off, I got to cut it off basically in the same place through the middle of this and not on the angle this here. So all my measurements are going to have to be this way. Up on this end, you can see the way it's cut off. So when it comes this way on the panel, I got to make sure I cut it right here and not like through the middle of these, this type of thing. So I got to cut it here or cut it here type thing. So I got about a ½ an inch that I got to try to work my measurements into. Now up here on the bar, you can see the way this rolls around. I got the high point here. This is where I want my measurement to go. From here to basically to the middle of this here. So that's where I'm going to make my measurements from. So when I make my measurements from there, I got to play with it a bit either way or another. So it might come off to this end here a bit, or it might go to the inside here a bit, but for the angle. But I want to have it symmetrical so that if it's outside here, it's outside here on the other side as well. Same with back here and forward. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to measure this up now and get it measured up and get that thing marked out and cut out. I managed to find 2 measurements that are close. Right to the middle of this one here, that's 31.5, I think it is. 31.5, I said that was? What was that? Yeah, 30.5, okay? That was the measurement I come up with there. And you come over here, this one here is 46. So it ends up lining up on the panels pretty good there. So I'm going to go ahead now and trim this thing up and get that panel cut out. Okay, I got the width and the length cut out. And basically what I got to do now is I got to notch it for this. So all I did is I measured from in here, and I measured from back here in the middle up to this here to get my measurements here. And what I did then is I cut the piece tin out to fit inside that there. This corner here, I'm going to fit it in place. I'm going to mark this here to cut it before I even actually do anything else. But I can't fit it in place until I can get it to fit in around this here. I measured back from here, got the measurement to the end of the pipe and to the other end of the pipe, and then I basically went and found an area where it was close, same with in here. As you can see, it kind of threw things off here. You know, I basically had to cut a section of that out of that again. But that's fine. I'll figure something out for that, and I'll get that all fitting in place now. All these years at doing this stuff, and you can turn around and you can be as good as you can be. and you can be as perfect as you think you can be, and you can still make mistakes, okay? What I went and did, I turned around, I measured from here to the back side and took a measurement, and then went over and transferred it onto the gate, and then turn around and cut it, and cut it an inch too short. 30 and a half, I had the measurement here. This is 31 and a half. Don't ask me where I went wrong there. I don't know. I'm here thinking about now, how'd you fool that up? But I did it. I made a mistake. And, you know, we make mistakes. Now, let's get past it. I'm looking at this here grate now and sizing up. There will be a box on the back side of this here when this rack is on the back of it. The box goes right to here, okay? So what I'm going to do to remedy this is to cut that through this pipe here. Mark it and cut it here. And that way, this will be open and this will be the cage section here. I figured it would be good for if I ever want to stand something up in the back of the rig, if the box is not there or whatnot. More or less, all the stuff that I'm putting on the back is smaller items. The box is up front, and the box comes to here, so it doesn't matter if this cage is underneath the box, because most times this rack will only be in it for when I'm traveling anyway. So that's how I'm going to remedy this issue that I made. It's another term called for it, but this is a family channel, and I don't want to say it. You make mistakes. Anyway, let's grab that mistake and turn it into into something positive. And I'm going to cut that, mark that now. I'm going to mark that right there where it's at and cut that off. And up here in the corners, I'm just going to mark this along here and cut it where I can actually basically weld it. Boys, oh boys, what I don't be doing sometimes. Overthinks things, but hey, I'm at this 30 odd years and you still can make mistakes, and admitting to them is a big part of it. Don't ever be afraid to admit your mistakes. There you go. Crisis averted. That's no big deal. I got this rigged up for the oxyacetylene bottles for when they're stood up the back when I'm going up in the woods. Yeah, that's it. But that's it. It was the only piece of this I had. I do have another piece, but it's really, really rusty, and I didn't want to go into it. So, and I could have, if I really want to, I got a big enough piece there that I can put there if I want and weld it onto there. But I'm looking at the whole point of, like, the box is going there, and the box is off it. It gives me an opportunity to stand stuff up in here, and I can strap stuff stood up. And if I need be, if I'm doing it that way. But for the most part, the box is going to be in the back of this, because I built this for traveling long distances. And I got a storage box that will be going there, and so that will take care of that problem. It's just back here, I got different items that are just going to lay all over the place, and I didn't want them to fall down through the holes here and whatnot. So, but I cut the corners, as you can see. I just cut it straight across there, so that'll weld there. I'll tap this down around the corner here and weld it on, and I'll clean all that up. And I don't have a lot here to weld in this corner here. I might be able to weld a bit there. Oh, over here is a bit worse, so I'll just move that around a bit. See if I can get something to weld on here just to give it a little bit of strength. But that, you know, we're only talking about an area this big, so that should be fine. I might well just weld something in from there to there to give it some extra bit of strength. But how I'm going to weld this in here is I'm going to grind the top of it off, the top of this pipe off, and I'm just going to tack weld along the edges here where the pipe rests on top of it. But I got to clean off this pipe and everything. I got everything made here now. Everything is made up. The brackets are all tack welded in place. So now I can pop this off and start welding everything up. I'm going to clean this up, sand this before I go to put it on. I'm going to grind this up. Plus I'm going to sand this here because I'm not going to be able to sand like the edges of this when this grate is welded on. These bolts here, I think I'm going to weld them on solid. You can get them in there because you can actually get your fingers up through here, but it's a bit tricky, right? So I figure all I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to tack weld these on top, put them in the middle of each slot, weld them on, and that way they're permanently studs in place there. Again, I just like trying to make things a lot easier for me to put together. Let's get this all blown apart now and get it welded up. I'm not sure what this stuff is called. It's just basically a corrugated steel. Some of you guys will know exactly the proper terminology to it. Leave it in the comment section. But it is a 16 gauge material, so it's got a bit of strength to it. So I just figured I'll put that in there just to let you know, just in case you decide. And if you're interested in knowing what the name of the stuff is, someone in the comments should be able to get that, because I don't know. I just know that it's a corrugated steel. It was given to me. I had a couple of pieces given to me, and Now I got all the top side all grinded down and used a 24 grit disc, as you see me there. Now you can get really carried away with this. I'm just going to turn around and go back and sand all the edges, because I won't be able to do that after the fact with a bit of Hunter sandpaper and the DA. So I can get that back. Like, you can get fussy with this. You can turn around, put this all together, sand it out, have it sandblasted, and have it powder coated. It's up to yourself. For me, all I'm doing, I'm just going to clean it up, sand what's there, and I'm going to weld it all together, and I'm putting a rust paint on it. I'm going to spray paint with rust paint. Like, I'm not going to go putting too much money into this, doing it that way. But, like, if you want to take it that extra step, by all means, go for it. You know, send it out, have it blasted, and then have it powder coated. It'll be a nice little rack when it's done on powder coat. So I'm going to go ahead now and start sanding all the edges of this here now and get this ready so I can start welding it all up. So I had, I got all this welded on. I welded it up here in the middle, every second one or so, and the ends I have welded every single one of them. And same with on the sides, right? So I turn around and knock the head off of them with the grinder, just so that nothing there to hook to, and it's nice and solid. Now I'm up here and moved on to these brackets. I got them, you can see where I got them down on the edge so they take to the pipe. And I got them set up so that they're flush to the top of the pipe here, okay? I'm just going to randomly look at them there and figure out roughly where I want them, and I'll measure them up. This one here, I'll just weld it in place, and then I'll measure the other one to fit to this one here, because that's what the box is going to bolt to. So I got it all ready to go there now. I did a quick test fit on the machine. I had to tweak a few holes. I did put them studs in there, by the way, and did weld them in. I just never filmed that. I got that done. So I'm here now. Got this all ready, and I got the spray boot door closed. So I'm going to set up here now and get some painting done. Okay, get this set up out here now, and by rights, I should put a bit of etch primer or something over the bare metal. I haven't got no etch primer. I just had a look, and but that's fine. I put a rust paint on it. Probably be better off if you sprayed it with an etch as beforehand. It'll last a lot longer. But I'm putting this on a rig I'm going to be using in the woods, so I'll probably end up taking this off every year and giving it a quick splash of paint and painting it anyway, just to freshen it up, right? So these are all ready to go. I got them brackets all ready to go, so let's get some paint on here. All I'm painting with is trim clad, semi-gloss, basically black is what it is, semi-gloss black. And I'm using my old spray gun, 9000 tip, yeah, 9000 tip, old JGA developers, right? I've had this now a very long time. I'm just old school, I like to paint with that stuff. This stuff here, a lot of people got their mixes and stuff like this. I mix this stuff 1-to-1, okay? I find it gets a better flow, it dries faster, and you get a nicer finish on it. And I find that, like, just putting a couple of coats on, don't do it. The more you put on it, the better it'll be, right? What I mix it with is this is 5 gallons of gun wash thinners. It's an automotive thinners. Basically, that's what it is. They're solvent. So if you want to, you know, pick up a 5 gallons, I find it's cheaper to buy the 5 gallons, and it got to be a good automotive stuff. The stuff you buy at the home hardware and in places, you know, the Canadian Tires and stuff like that, thinners you get there, it's really not a good harsh thinners, and a good automotive one is the one to get, because the other stuff you can almost feel it's got an oily feeling to it, right? So I'm gonna get this all mixed up now and start spraying some paint. Got a couple of coats on everything. I'm gonna put a few more on it yet, on the bracketry, when this all dries. All I do is, like, he's flipping it upside down with the coat hangers. Hook that there now and flip that upside down so I can make sure I get everything. So there it is, all mounted on the rig. All painted up, it was all dry. Now you probably could have done, you could have done that powder coating or whatnot, have blasted, but this old trim clad works out pretty good. It needs a couple of days for it to dry, and it works out pretty good. I intend to pound this rig, so I'm not worried about scratching it or damaging it. Like usually once a year, I'll haul this stuff in, take it apart, give it a scuff and paint it, right? Just to freshen it up a bit, just to keep it from rusting, because that's the biggest problem we got on the East Coast here is everything tends to rust. And if it gets a marking, like if it was powder coated and you got a marking, it's only going to rust anyway, so don't matter. So that's basically the entire rack, all mounted. You can see the way it's all mounted on the back side. I just showed you there. It's just a simple little setup. This can handle a lot of weight because this is the points where it had to mount to before. I never changed the back of this at all. This is all basically from here back. This is the original rack, the way it was designed. So that'll take the weight of it there. I'd say I could get up on top of this now and it'll hold my weight for sure. But I'm going to mount the box on this now, and I'm going to mount the box so that it fits down through these here and bolts on. I'm going to have a little plating system to make it easier for myself. Put the box in place, drop it down through, and the plating system will go down through, and I'll just tighten up 4 bolts, and that'll be it for that. So there it is, the box and everything on. You see how I made up all the simple little brackets and everything for it? Just a little bit of plating system. Made it so it was a lot easier to have to worry about nuts and bolts. And I welded to a flat bar that way. It'll take the strain of the entire bottom, not just where the 4 bolts are to. And it just lays in place, so it'll keep it square. I made 2 of them identical at the same time. So that way it doesn't matter which one's left and which one's right. They're going to fit, both of them are going to fit in the same spot, right? And on either side. So that's why I made 2 of them together. And same with, and I never drilled the holes in the bottom of the box till I had the plates made. So, but that's a pretty simple setup there, and it's just used the caster nuts that were in the parts kit that came with the rack that I got, and just basically weld them on this side here, so I didn't have to worry about them spinning around. And I put a nut on the bottom with a lock nut, or a lock nut on the bottom side of it, so that's all straightened away. You probably could have put a bigger bolt in this here. I would have been nice to have a 3/8, but I had these ones here. They're a metric bolt. They were with the kit. So I figured I'll just use them. I'll keep an eye on it. If there's an issue, I'll just change it and upgrade it. The box is pretty well straightforward and simple. I got some upgrades I want to do on the box for when we travel. But I do have a lot of room here now for storage. I can put a cooler on the back side here. I can put a second box over here with stuff in it. The height of this here, a milk crate can fit in there. Gas cans can fit in there. I can put tents, sleeping bags, all that type of stuff underneath it. And I can put stuff down inside that we can keep our clothes dry. I went and put a seal on the bottom of the box along the top side here. So that'll seal on the top of this here to keep all the dust and everything out of the box. And I did a couple of quick little upgrades on it. My rear view mirror now is no good because you can't see out the back. I picked up a set of these on Amazon and bolted them on. And also added a light to the front of the machine, because when you're hoping to do some night driving, I just made up a simple little bracket right there on the side. It's made out of that same flat bar I made the other thing out of. There's the little bracket I made, just a flat bar bent around on an angle so it fits in there like so, and lays on the actual windshield frame itself. And all I did is I just welded it solid to the windshield frame. Right? I didn't want it to bolt down. I'm trying to get this eliminate bolts and everything. So I got that all wired in. I got the mirrors on her, I got the box and the rack and everything. So we should have an easier time this year. Last year we had no room for storage, and everything was just crammed in around it, wrapped around it with tarpaulins and everything hung over everything. It was a bit of a nuisance. So I want it more this year. One quick little thing I want to point out here too as well. I built this whole unit for 2 things. I didn't want anything to protrude above the back of the top of the machine. I was going to put a roof rack on the top of the machine, and I decided against it because I've after hooking this a couple of times now, this wind foil, or the airfoil, and I turn around, I said to myself, so I got to build it so it's below the roof line. Also, if you look at it, it's not wider than the machine, okay? There's the roll cage there. Everything is tucked inside the actual machine. So I haven't got to worry about anything sticking out, anything plowing into it. So it fits the machine really well. So that's it for the rack, and the box is all installed. If you're not familiar with my channel, I've done a bunch of builds on this here. I made the door bottoms for the RZR. I also used the roof off a 73 Barracuda roof skin to make a roof for this here. And I also built the entire frame using old locker doors, recycled locker doors, an old wiper off a Mazda 626. If you want to check them videos out, I have links in the descriptions below. I've done a bit of modifications. I enjoy making stuff for this machine. Right now, this is where I'm to with it. So, God knows what I'm going to be making for this next. Anyway, I'll leave this one here. I hope the tips were good, and until next time.